Hello and welcome back to the Popcorn for Dinner podcast, and welcome to 2020. Hopefully this one goes better than the last one we had. Today we are discussing the season finale of For All Mankind Season 5. And joining me for one final time this season, it's the fucking CEOs. It's Angel and Pete. How you guys doing? Welcome back.
Feeling
Pretty good.
championly.
Pete, welcome back. 2 weeks? Yeah, it's not that long. Yeah, you were here for 8. We didn't know the carnage that was in front of us. The emotional turmoil we're going to experience. Angel, you were here last week. We spoke about the distressing assault on Happy Valley. I think you might have some apologies in your future, but I think we'll get to that.
We'll get to it.
Some people on the internet we're not too happy with our takes.
I am a feminist, guys.
Yes, like you believe in STEM. We have a special guest on this episode. Joining us now. It's a bit of a special guest. Our co-pilot today. He's a Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, an astronaut turned NASA Astronaut Affairs liaison, and somehow a DHL delivery guy. Guys, it's Robert Bailey Jr. How you doing, Robert? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm really excited to be here. I was actually not even expecting the DHL delivery, the swerve. Will Tyler's a man of many talents, apparently, you know?
He is, yeah. He stays in the Apple TV space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that bag.
I love Apple TV, you know? It's what we do on there. I think it's they're some of the top, creators, and I think just what they put behind every show, they're doing it better than anybody else, in my opinion. So I've been really grateful. I think
In your
since the
unbiased
pandemic to
opinion?
work for them, you know. No, in my unbiased
Yeah.
opinion, it's funny because the guys that started Apple TV, the two heads of it, Jamie and Zach, used to run Sony TV, and a show that I did for years. Called Night Shift was one of the Sony things, and they basically would package all their shows. So it was like, if you want to pick up Night Shift, if you want to pick up like The Blacklist, you got to pick up Night Shift. But they were really known as being some of the best executives to work for as a creative. And so when they left to run Apple TV, like this was back in 2018, I was like, oh, that's going to be like the most banging, like, because there's going to be no skips. Every show's going to be incredible. And like, I've not been wrong because they're just that good, you know?
I didn't know that, but that makes so much sense because a lot of Apple TV shows are Sony Pictures TV productions.
Exactly.
I did not
They
know
still have
that
a lot of
connection.
relationships for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the studio is Sony Pictures, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
Seth has, that
Yeah,
makes
a
sense.
lot of the network stuff will be Apple and Sony will be studio, but they do with everybody, but they just have a lot of relationships over there because they used to run it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much for being here,
Of course.
Robert. We were talking a bit offline, and we're like, I feel weird calling you Robert. Like, you feel very much like a 3-name person, like Robert Bailey Jr. It feels like it comes with the prestige. So if I say that several times this podcast, I do apologize, Robert Bailey Jr.
It's not weird at all. People like often just call me the full name. It just feels like it has to be that, and I don't get bothered at all by it. So go for it.
Quickly, if you are new to this podcast, thank you for tapping in. Please like and subscribe. If you like what you listen to, please like and subscribe. If you don't like what you listen to, it doesn't really matter to you. But it matters a lot to us. We just finished like a run of 6 months of a lot of stuff. We just recently obviously finished For All Mankind Season 5. Finished The Boys, finished Invincible a few weeks ago. We did an episode on the Spider Noir season, which I think you should check out if you're even vaguely interested in that. And we have a thing where we're talking about an MCU movie every month this year, leading up to Doomsday in December. We've ranked our top 12 and we're doing that. Also, you can go back to Saturday year, talk about industry, Night of Seven Kingdoms. It's just a lot of TV every week. Okay, so we're going to talk about For All Mankind, obviously, but Robert Bailey Jr., you're here. So I think we have to address the milk carton elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Obviously, not everyone has watched Pluribus, so we would like discuss any plot details. But I think I can't have you here and not kind of like ask kind of your point of view on the whole thing, because on paper, DHL guy is obviously the thing we say on stage is there are no small roles, right? Only small actors. But on paper, it's a day player. It's something
Mhm.
that could easily be forgotten. And obviously, you do that, and you obviously do it so well in a way that it catches storm. And now it's led to, I guess I have two questions because now it's led to, for example, Apple TV deciding to put you up for Emmy consideration. Like, so I guess my first question is like, what was that experience like from reading the script? Like, how have you felt about that? And then the second hand is like the fan reaction online because like the fan reaction has been like, incredible.
Yeah, that the fan reaction, first of all, has been so much fun. I'm on the what they call the Uribus, the Uribus,
Yeah.
and I'm having such a blast. Like everybody that I've met on there is so cool, and it's really funny that I found because when I was a kid or a teenager rather, I did a movie called Coraline that so many people have grown up on. I played a character called YB, and over the years, every time I meet people that love that film, there's such a distinct sort of cool as a person, and it's all over the place, but there's always like really cool, unique, interesting people. And I found that to be like kind of like an overlap with a lot of the fans for Pluribus so far. Just who they are as people, as artists, is like just interesting folks to talk to and extremely funny. And I've just been like literally spending so much time on Twitter just talking to everybody. So my agents, when they reached out, because it was already clearly gonna be a small role, but we didn't really know exactly what it was, and they were asking if I was, even open to going in for it, and I was like, "Are you kidding me, guys? This is Vince Gilligan?" Like, "Yeah, like,
It's
I don't really care what it is." And I had done a show for years called The Night Shift that it was the same cast and crew as all of Vince Gilligan's shows. So when we were filming, they were off season, and then when we'd be off season, it was, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. So I knew like everyone he worked with, but I never met Vince or any of the producers or anything. So it was like a little bit of a homecoming for me when they ended up bringing me on. And then I didn't read the script, so I was just kind of talking with them and kind of piecing together what I could from that scene. And then we just had a lot of fun
Mhm.
playing, and Ray was incredible. So it was just like a really fun moment. This was back in 2024, and then you're doing multiple projects, and so it's just kind of like that was really lovely. And so I remember one of the producers, who's an old friend of mine from Night Shift. She used to be on our crew, and then she became a producer on Better Call Saul. She reached out to me. She was like, "Hey, you made the trailer." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool, awesome." And then I watched the trailer. I was like, "Oh, I'm like in the trailer. Okay, that's awesome." And people started reaching out from that. And then they sent me an invitation to the premiere, and it was like around the corner from my house. So I like invited a friend. I like walked over there, and it was like, "Oh, this is a big premiere." And like I knew it was a big scale, but I was just kind of thinking it was like a low key screening. And I was like, "Oh, okay, we're doing the whole thing." And then you know, I watched the film, or the it was essentially a film. It was the first two episodes at the screening, and then afterwards, I left my as I do ADHD, left my phone and my wallet in my seat, and I had to like go through like a wave of people exiting the theater to get back to it. And when I finally got through, it was just Vince and his mother there, and then like a couple people. So I was like, okay, I got to finally meet Vince because I hadn't actually like filmed with him when I was there. He was like out on a scout, and so I went up to him, and I won't get into everything that was said, but I think it's a dream as a performer to come onto a project for somebody that you respect, and you have like one scene, and then for that person to really spotlight what you do and how effusive he was in his praise and how he talked about what it meant for the show and what the writers thought of it. And it could be just a thing of like, "Wow, you're being incredibly kind, it's really nice," but it was just, like, really pointed, and he wanted me to know specific things, and,
Mhm.
I was just kinda buzzing after that, and then I spent the entire rest of the night of people coming up to me and telling me, like, what that role was for the show in a completely unexpected way. And so, my friend that came with me, she was like, "What is this? Like, what's happening?" I was like, "I don't know. This is really, like, amazing but bizarre." And so just every step of the way, I kinda say that to say that it's been such a lovely surprise, and they've told me, like, how much they loved that particular moment and what that meant for the show. But then every step of the way, they've really, like, gotten behind that to the point of submitting me for an Emmy nomination, where it just seems kind of like a dream of what you would
Mhm.
you kinda wanna do, like, a thing and then just be noticed for your thing. And I've been in the business for 30 years now, and sometimes, when you're working, I have so many friends that are like that, where they're doing their thing, but they're kind of acting in the void. So I think to have a moment on a show like this with someone that I admire so much, both in Vincent and Ray and everybody that's involved, and then have it be in the zeitgeist in the way that it was, and then have people
Mhm.
to reach out in my DMs and directors and be like, "Hey, like you were incredible. I'd love to work with you." That was such a difference in what I'm used to, where it's like I love my work, but I don't think anyone's watched it. I have this experience that I talk about a lot, where after I came off of a show that I was doing for 5 or 6 years, where I was like out of state. I went in for a casting director that I'd known since I was a kid, and she was like, "Oh my god, like where have you been? I thought you quit the business and went home." And I was like, "I was on NBC." I just, no one watched that in the industry, because there's shows that I think people in the industry watch, and there's shows that
Hmm.
the rest of America watches, and vice versa. And I actually think that For All Mankind, even though it was like an original Apple TV show before they really were starting to find an audience, it's been a really heavily watched industry show. Almost every other show I've done, people like pull me aside and they're like, "By the way, For All Mankind, that's like one of my favorite shows." And like big people that I've worked with, they love the show. And so that was an interesting switch up from what I've been used to. But Pluribus is just a whole different, like it's insane to be a part of that in any
Yeah.
way, and to then have them really just get behind me so much and really show me love in the way that they have. Like I it's been one of the highlights of my career for sure.
Yeah. You were
Yeah.
accepted by the lesbians on Twitter, and that's always a career highlight. So
Those are my
it's a
people.
career
Those are
high
my
mark.
people, though. Like, I'm having such a good time with them, and I just like I don't know. It feels so cozy and like just so much love and respect. And they're so raunchy in the best way. Like it's so funny the stuff that they come up with. So I'm just constantly
Yeah.
laughing, like snacking in the middle of the night, just like liking tweets and whatnot. It's very funny for me.
I mean, we'll move on to Formankind in a second, but Formankind is a
Mm,
bit like this actually. I know Pete can confirm this. As people who like cover a lot of shows every year,
mm.
it's kind of refreshing when you get a good fan base. Trust me. Like when you get one that's
Yeah,
like Pluribus was a good time. Obviously, there were some people who were yeah, but Pluribus was a good time because
sure.
most of the fan base was like engaged and good
Mm-hmm.
and like
Mm-hmm.
I'm
not
positive.
toxic. So I'm
Yeah.
positive. Yeah. So those
Which I
months of
think
Pluribus were definitely a good time.
I think when you sometimes encounter some of that toxicity that can just I don't think it's always everyone, but it can be such a loud, part of
Hmm.
certain fan bases. I don't want to at all blame the shows that are dealing with that, but I do think in certain instances when shows are clearly showing respect to certain groups, they really like value that and get behind that and it kind of de-escalates a lot of what I think can be the sensitivity and the combativeness of just not being represented all the time and then having representation that's done wrong or done with a lack of respect or care. I understand when people can really get heat up or frustrated because it's such a continuous thing that you're encountering. So I think when people like events and everybody involved with the show care about the particulars and care about doing it the right way, even if people aren't like seeing the exact thing that they want, they notice the care and then they're invested, and I think that's really important. And again, I don't
Yeah.
want to seem like I'm saying everybody that's getting toxic fan base in any way is it's because they don't care, but I'm just saying I think that there is a connection where people like Vince that take their time and really build up a world and build up characters that are very lived in and aren't stereotypical in certain ways, that people really ride for that even if there's one or two things that they would shift. They love that it's being done, period.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
care is
that's a
always
really good
appreciated.
segue into For All
Yeah.
Mankind because I would
It
say the
is.
same. Yeah.
Yeah. That's about For Mankind. Almost 20 minutes in. Hope I I I
Okay.
I I would think that there's a good like Venn diagram of For Mankind, and even if it's just Peter and I, there's a good combination of For Mankind and
Pluribus.
Pluribus
All good.
watchers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the
If
season 5
not, who
finale.
cares really,
If
you know?
not, who cares?
I
It's
This
your podcast, you know?
you're right. I can talk about what I want to talk about. This
Yeah.
is the season 5 finale. It's titled "This Land Is Our Land." It's written by Matt Wolpert and Ben Nedividi, and his aunt Kira Snyder, and is directed by Sergio Mimica Gazan. Um, I think I should just start as we always do, Pete, and then Angel. What are your thoughts on this episode? On this kind of wrap up to this season?
they landed the goddamn plane. That
Okay,
was my thought.
as we're
Yeah.
not just saying that because Robert Bailey Jr. is here.
No,
Why
actually,
not?
I don't
Why
know if you've
not-
listened to any of our coverage this season,
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh. Yeah.
we came in pretty like, it's a little different than what we're used to in the For All Mankind format. So given
Yes.
that we were quite a bit critical, or at least a little
Uh-huh.
confused, you know?
Uh-huh.
But safe
We're
to say
dubious,
by
maybe.
we're dubious actually. Safe to say by towards the later half of the season, we're like, oh, we're so back. And I think I felt it the
Right.
most in this final episode. Like it genuinely brought me to tears. Um,
Mm.
so I'm really, really happy about that. I mean, I never was gonna stop watching the show. I love it, but it's
Yeah.
nice. I'm actually down for the ride still. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Pete?
Yeah, I was impressed with the way that 9 and 10 work together. I
Uh-huh.
do enjoy this. I have some questions that I'm sure we're going to get into. Like it left me with some unresolved feelings that like when I was
Okay.
doing episode 9, before I knew how things were going to end up, I kind of was thinking about the way that because last time I was here, we talked about the flash mob episode and
Mhm.
how that sort of put us on our back foot when we first saw it of like, wait,
The
what is
dancing, yeah.
this? Like, is this what this show is now? Like that's a bit how I felt whenever there was the glowing thing on Titan, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I was like, well, what is this? And like, what does that mean for this thing that I've been spending all this time with? Like, is it going to
Mhm.
change? And in the case of this flash mob, it paid off perfectly, right? It was
Almost
like,
immediately, yeah.
yeah. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of where I'm at with this right now. But also I'm just sort of like, let's see what happens because I really don't know what to make of the end of this episode to a certain extent.
Yeah, the flash forward,
Yeah.
I guess we will
We're
try our
looking so
best.
close to the
Oh,
flash forward. Yeah.
yeah, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll try. Obviously, Will can't say anything. Sorry, Robert can't say anything. Now I'm just kind of getting the characters and the actors mixed up. That's good.
It's just
Obviously, he can't
casual
say
like
any.
that.
Yeah, he can't.
It's so fascinating because if I remember correctly from what the flash forward is, it is the ship that was from my
Mm.
mission, is it not? So I might
Oh,
know a thing or
okay.
two about that.
Yes, let's come back to that because my
Uh-huh.
literal question is: are we supposed to remember this ship? That's what's on my notes.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait,
so,
I thought it was the ship that I thought it was the ship that disappeared from whenever they were approaching Titan, the Russian ship that didn't
Oh
no, I
no,
don't think
so
so
That was
so
because
blue,
that was
right?
that was the ship. So that was the ship from the
Mars
mission to
94.
Mars 94, and the Russian ship that blew
Yeah.
up when we
No,
rescued
that
them. That's the ship that's been out there ever since after it blew up.
absolutely. Yeah.
okay,
No,
Hmm.
that totally I can visually see it right now, but when I
Hmm.
watched it live, that's what I was thinking. I thought we were seeing what was it, Cosmos One, the one that was
Cosmos One,
Yeah,
Corrigan's
yeah,
ship that
yeah,
had
yeah,
but
yeah.
didn't they
disappeared.
Yeah.
land? Didn't Cosmos One land and like kind
No,
of?
they skipped off and they were gonna get sucked into Saturn the last time we heard it,
Yeah.
into the gravity
Like
well,
Yeah, that's
and
what I
last
mean. I
time
was
I
like,
looked,
did they get? Yeah, they're not in
yeah, they would
space,
have
right?
been
They were
destroyed
on.
on through
Yeah,
yeah.
that process.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so that answers the question because I was like 94, but I was trying to remember what was the. I didn't have
Right.
time to go. But I was like,
It, it is
what was
weird
the
because
mission in
it's a flash
94?
forward, but it's an old
Yeah,
date.
Yeah.
That if you
yeah.
recall, that's the Russian ship that was faulty because they were rushing to keep up with us. And then when
Mm-hmm.
that nuclear reactor kind of went off a bit, I think that's what it was. We rescued them, and they came on our ship
Yeah.
because we went
Yeah, I
back for
remember.
them.
Yeah,
And so that ship has been out there floating ever since, and that's what we just looked at in the flash
and now
forward.
a
So
message is
That
coming
was
in.
yeah,
one of
Okay.
those that
President.
was one of those early diabolical Deb moments too, where he was like, "Nah, just let him die. Who cares? You know what I mean? We
exactly,
got a
exactly.
mission.
No, we're
We
winning the
got a
race. Yeah,
mission going on here."
I love
and
that.
he's
Pretty cool.
incredible.
Dude. Okay. So since we have Will himself here, I think it only makes sense to start with Margot's storyline.
Yes.
Someone that we didn't actually expect to see again this season. But like Robert, let me ask you, how do you feel about being so far down Margot's list? She she
That's
went
that's
through
a
the
good
Um,
bunch of numbers.
right, right, right. Like, dang. You know what? Like, it's not exactly surprising per se. So many people have kind of gone through under her reign as the director,
Hmm.
and might have more insight, or I think she's been so far removed from the having her finger on the pulse. I think she's just kind of going through a list of who's coming up in her brain. And our brief interactions were right before she got arrested in Control Center in season 4, and like we never really did much together except for like
Mhm.
she was probably involved in my prep for missions, getting
Yeah.
ready to go out to Mars and whatnot. But other than that, like we don't have much of a relationship prior, so not at all surprising that I didn't really come up in her brain until she was like towards the end of her you know uh ideas of who she might be able to reach out to. And I
Mhm.
think that's honestly sometimes how life goes when you're really down on your luck or in a frustrating situation, and the people that you think might be around just aren't, and you're just kind of like throwing out a lifeline, and then somebody you're not expecting is like, "Hi, what's going on with you?" And that
Yeah.
that little
It was such a
connection is
gag.
sometimes all you need. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
.
Uh, Pete, your favorite character returned, much to our surprise.
Yes.
Well, what did you think of Margot's reappearance?
Well, I mean, I had a hard time figuring out how she might fit back in. So I was pretty
Yeah.
satisfied that they were able to bring her back. And it really reinforced what I love about the character in that I mean, because of course she's not perfect. She's like all the rest of the characters in this show that have got some stuff that could potentially put you off to her or whatever. And the way that she interacted with Graziana and just sort of the how she wanted to be there for her. She wanted because we had seen her be warm with her mother, with Aleida, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
something that developed over decades, right? And you just see how difficult like it is for like just the simple things that people take for granted, that it's difficult for Margo, you know what I mean? Like she really has always been so focused on just like what she said before, whenever when she said goodbye to Aleida, like her work and her project of trying to
Yeah.
make this thing happen, and just how empty that left her at the end. And she kind of got to deliver the line of the decade, kind of, you know what I mean? That some things you can't fix, some problems you
Mhm.
can't work. Um, and it's kind of, I thought that really wrapped up the season in a great way, because it's sort of like people have been
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I wish there was more about like triumph in space," and we've even said things along those lines.
Yeah.
And and the reality is that wherever we go, we take ourselves with us, right?
Yeah.
And um that some of humanity's problems are not going to be solved by getting really great tech. Like we're going to
Right.
always have
Yeah.
to deal with ourselves and deal with each other. And so I thought that was just a lovely line to include there, and I'm glad she got to be able to deliver it, because um I don't know, it just lands in a way that when you get something from one of those characters, it just lands in a way.
Yeah.
It's sort of like
Yeah.
whenever you had Danielle come back in the Avery, and it's just sort of like you got that in your toolkit. You got that in your back pocket. So use
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
use it
Mhm.
sparingly. I think that's
Mhm.
But
good, you
use
know what
it.
I mean?
Yeah.
But please
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah.
The
Uh,
cheat code.
Angel, do you have
Yeah.
anything about Margot you want to say?
Yeah, it really made me emotional, like Margot and Graciana. I don't know, I've just been in tears. I guess that was one of the first moments that made me cry, because
How many times
I
did you
think
cry this episode?
a couple. A couple. I was actually surprised.
Okay.
Kelly
Interesting.
had me in tears twice, which is very surprising, but we'll get to that.
Mhm.
But no, it's just like when she reached out her hand to Graciana and she said, some problems can't be worked. Just seeing her try to offer that
Mhm.
comfort, and also for Graciana, who was so ready for her mom to, like, obviously in her rebellious stage, be like go and leave her alone, to be the one to come to Margot and be
Yeah.
like, look, I need help. Like, I'm losing my mind, please thing. It really touched
Mhm.
me. I just felt like you could feel the connection and the love that Margot has for Aleida through that relationship, and that Aleida has for Margot, that Graciana felt
Absolutely.
so comfortable to come to her in prison, to come and instead of going to
Mhm.
Nassau or going to jail, she came to the lady in jail to come and
Yeah.
ask her. Knew she's the only one
Not
who'd
not
care.
a great look for Aleida's husband. that his daughter is going to prison without him knowing twice. Like,
I mean, to be fair, she was
like,
already displaying tendencies of rebelliousness while
fair.
Aleida
Yeah,
so
that's
can't really put
that,
that on him.
that's fair.
But yeah, it's really
Well,
touching.
we're gonna do Titan in a second, but before we get into all of that, I have a list for you guys. And we will discuss these things in depth, I'm sure, as we go on to the episode. But I just want to say the list right now. We can talk about it now if you want. It's a list of things I would never do from this episode. Right in order of how unfucking likely it is for me to do them. So the first is ride a rover bike indoors at super speed
Yep.
across the base. Not gonna do it. The second one is pressing the button, which Miles did. Wouldn't do that.
Mm-mm.
The third is Polyvanov volunteering to go to the hub, knowing what the
Yeah.
plan was.
Yeah.
Like, it's a 1% chance that you're gonna kill yourself.
Mhm.
Next, again, these are in ascending order of how unlikely it is for me to do it. Next is whatever the fuck Dev was doing. Whatever he did up on that, like,
Climb.
as someone who hates heights, no,
Yeah.
no way. Not happening. Volunteering to stay behind and die on a
I knew that
random
was gonna be
planet's
tough.
moon.
Yeah, that one really kind of
That
takes the
definitely was
cake.
oof.
So
Yeah.
normally, realistically, that should take the cake, and I think that would take the cake or whatever. But my most is Dev staying up there in the morning to watch the sights. Go back
Just hanging
down,
out,
Dev.
yeah.
Go
You know
back
they have dust storms up there, right?
No, literally.
You,
I was so
oh my
scared when he was
God.
turning
You've
the
already,
antenna. I'm like, "What the hell? Like, please, you
and
can't
then
die
he
like this."
stayed. He stayed. Why is he staying up there? Go back down.
That is
Oh
such
my God.
a connective tissue, I feel like, for most of the characters, and I imagine that would make sense for people that are gonna, deal with any sort of space exploration, but they're such thrill seekers, and you could see them
Yeah.
kind of itching for any opportunity to put themselves in that situation to get that, and so I think it takes a certain sort of, being a little off
Yeah.
Little
to
notebook.
be
Yeah.
on the edge of to be on the edge like that of exploration and expansion, and so I think they're so ready in a way that is, endearing on one hand, but also terrifying on the other hand to put themselves on the line for situations
Mm-hmm.
like so encoded in their DNA. We've seen it generationally now at this point, where it just seems like they're just, and even when people are experiencing fear and a bit more humanity or struggling with that, it's still a part of their character at a baseline to when things are going down and people need them, go, I'll do this thing that is probably gonna,
Yeah.
in my life. And
Yeah.
it's such a thing that is, I think, one of the through lines of so many of the characters, no matter where they're coming from, even if they're in the, in NASA back home or wherever they're at, there's just that, it's like Margo and Aleida get that thrill from solving the problem. It's a different
Mm-hmm.
thing. They're not, like,
Yeah.
putting themselves physically at risk all the time, but they're, like, in
Mhm.
it, and that's where they're getting their thing from. So, yeah, it's interesting to see how that manifests in every character on the show throughout the years.
You can even say it started with Ed.
Mhm, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Curmudgeonly
Yeah.
Ed, yeah.
Yeah. Nixon's
Yeah.
ladies,
Uh-huh.
Mhm,
Ellen, Molly,
exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Molly, yeah.
yeah.
Man, I
When I
miss me
was
some
right,
Ellen.
I
So
do. I don't
bad.
understand. Like, we've got everybody bad. We've
Where
got
are my
a shot
gays?
of.
Like,
Uh,
hello.
my kids. Well, you got Will this episode. You got
Which
you
I was
Yeah,
so
got Will.
happy.
exactly, yeah.
I was like, "Thank God."
Did you say you miss Ellen? Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ellen,
oh,
President
yeah.
Ellen.
She's incredible, and I feel
Yeah,
like I'll always be connected to her because of our storyline in season 3,
in
Yeah.
season
and,
three.
like, she's an ex-president, I'm sure, I who knows,
Yeah, can we just see
She's
her
out
opening
there
Author,
up
and
who
her
knows?
she's out
library
there
at
in
some
the
point?
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
Exactly.
She can get meetings with people. She could get she could get Will on the phone if she needed to on
yeah.
show.
Let's just
Mhm.
Exactly.
give us. It's the final season. Give us some fan service. Just
Anything.
give
Don't
us
even
a
need to make
scene of Ellen.
like,
Like,
sure.
yeah, she can be in with her wife. Hopefully, they're still married.
I'm sure
Okay,
we'll see
Mhm.
what
let's
we
do
can do.
Titan. Okay, Angel, do you
Oof.
have any apologies you would like to offer regarding the
Like
Titan storyline?
everyone who has had to apologize and take back everything they've ever said about Mikel Arteta, I take back everything I've
Okay,
ever said about Kelly Baldwin. Okay? Kelly is a real ass bitch. Okay? My main Our main criticism Oriana's last week was that.
Okay, yes, because that hour was like, was that weird? Like,
It was yes, we're invested in this search for life. Yes, we want to do it, but we felt like Kelly was just like throwing caution to the wind, didn't give a fuck about
mm,
anybody else or whatever, and because she had to be the one to discover life. I think her even talking about it now makes me emotional, which is so funny. I think her making that sacrifice to stay after they discovered life, just being like, hey, like this is bigger than me, this is bigger than us. Like somebody,
mhm,
people, y'all have to make it back to tell the people what we found here. We can't all die here. It really made me respect her and realize that okay, I've definitely mischaracterized her intentions with this entire journey. Like, yeah, she wanted to do something groundbreaking, and of course, why wouldn't she want to be the one to do it? But that really just solidified that yes, what she did care about was the groundbreakingness of it all, the pushing our world forward and not really about herself and her own accolades, which is, how I was kind of feeling
mm,
before. And I don't know if that, like, those feeling of
Mm.
bias is just because, like I said, again, I have to remind you, I am a feminist. I am here for women doing all sorts of all. But it just started to feel like at some points, just like a grating, like, okay, girl, like you just saw the Russians blow up. Now you want to take us through this. Okay, we made it through. Thank God. We've made it to Titan.
mhm,
Okay, girl, baby's injured. Like, and my mom was like, "Okay, so you went back for another sample?" I'm like, "Duh, she was already up there." Like, we kind of had to use two and two to do what we had to do, right? But then I think that just that whole scene with her just being like, no, she has to be the one to say, like, she's like, especially when she was talking about Alex and being like, yes, he's grown and she knows that he's going to be taken care of, and he's going to be a great man, even though she's not going to be there to see it. Like, literally just broke my heart. I was
mhm.
like, oh, Kelly, you are such a real ass babe, and it genuinely brought me to tears. That was the first one that brought me to tears. Yeah, yeah, I'm proud
I
of her.
I
Can I say?
I didn't think they would do it. I didn't
Yeah,
think they would do it. Up
they
until the
had
credits
to.
rolled, I
They
didn't think
had
they would do it.
to.
I
They
genuinely
had
thought
to.
like we were gonna get a hero moment for someone. Like somebody was gonna come. Because Mankind has done those, like the
Yeah,
hero moment. It's also done like the sacrificial moment. I just didn't think Kelly was gonna die. Like I was
well, she
I
ain't dead
wasn't
yet.
emotional because well, no, she's dead. I wasn't emotional because I didn't think it was gonna happen. Like so I never
Yeah,
allowed myself to get
yeah. I
emotional about it.
expected
You get what I'm
that
trying? I was like,
Alida will
Yeah.
figure it
"Oh,
out,
someone's
or
gonna come
some
and save
people
her."
will be saved.
Yeah,
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 but
exactly.
once that
And I was
Yeah.
reality
like,
set
"Oh,
in, I
wait."
was like,
I was like, "This
ah.
isn't happening."
I mean,
I guess Pete,
logically,
what are your thoughts on
it
this?
should have been Elena who
Yeah.
stayed behind. Just logically, if we're really counting, she couldn't really move too much.
Why? Because
Humanically,
she's
yes,
injured.
should have
She's
done. You know what I'm saying? She should have done
Yeah.
better. But if we're
that's
really
Yeah.
ableist,
doing
Angel.
the
That's
logic,
I,
and
ableist. It's just not.
that's it's not ableism.
I
It's
mean,
not
I'm
ableism.
I'm
I'm just
kind of
saying, but
joking.
like, there's not much she could have done. But like, I really respected Kelly for that. Like, even with Walt trying to be a man and be like, oh, I have to do it because I'm a man
Hey,
and I'm
look, our
things bad.
metabolisms burn faster.
Okay,
Like
sir.
it's just science.
Please bring me. Then why did he discover
I,
the life? Thank
I'm
you very much. With all his madness and metabolism, please.
Oh, Pete, Pete, what are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, I was kind of joking, but like, when she said, "You have kids, Walt, you have
hmm
Mhm.
kids," and then I'm thinking, well, so do you.
So
And
do
then in
you?
my head, I
Yeah.
was like, well, Elena is hurt, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm, mhm.
if
Let
someone's got to stay behind, you know what I mean? Like,
Like, you don't even know
She will
nothing
slow
about
down the
Elena's
mission.
family. Like, do she
she's
have
gonna be
kids?
kind of a
Do she
pain in
have
the ass
husband
to
or
get
wife?
back to
I
Sojourner
think
with,
that
but
that moment, and they've been threading it throughout the season. I think that moment where she's like, "Well, you have kids, you have to get back," is really an important thing because she does have Alex. The thing about
Mhm.
hmm
it is that Kelly is Ed's daughter, and
Yeah.
so the thing that is always the most prominent thing for them, even though they love family, is the thing that they're chasing, that
yeah,
out
Yeah.
hmm
there thing. And so I think,
yeah,
as you were saying, it could come across as selfish. I don't think it necessarily was about her being a thing. It was that no one was going to carry that torch if it wasn't her because no one thought it was as important as she knew it was. And so
Yeah.
she was always going to have to be the one that see it through. But how that can also, this is such a generational story, be a reoccurrence of the sort of neglect you might have felt in a way because your parent that you knew loved you was always off doing the thing and never coming home.
Yeah.
Now she's doing the same thing to her kid. And it's like in those moments where it matters, it's like I could go back to my son and be there for him, or I could be this person that I'm supposed to be. And how that could be so difficult, even in beautiful moments, because she
Yeah.
did choose this thing over going back to her son because she has a family
Yeah.
too. But she's just like, I know he'll be okay. That's probably gonna have an effect on him. But that's where
100%.
she actually needed to be, you know? And so I think that's just such an interesting thing where like that's Ed. She's doing what Ed
Yeah,
does.
literally.
She's his
Yeah.
daughter. You know what I mean? And
Uh,
so it's a generational story where that sort of like thing that they can't, to be the good parent and the good, whatever, you do a certain thing, they don't ever really feel comfortable doing that thing. They have to go
yeah.
Yeah.
explore
And
and be in the stars, you know?
and one of the things that I had that I wanted to bring up was that with Miles, they kind of flip this a bit because he has to do this terrible thing that you brought up earlier about pushing the button. And he
Mhm.
does it, and his motivation there is he's doing that for his family, to protect his family, to protect his home, right? We could say, well, I wouldn't do that. It's not the right thing to do, whatever. But if you were that man and you had that family, then what's your thought process going to be? You're going to push
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
button because as a as she says, those people are there to kill them, like they're in
Yeah.
Exactly.
any
On
way they
sites,
want.
actually.
Yeah, for sure. Mhm.
So you know what I mean. So I thought that was a really interesting thing, the way that Kelly chose the mission because that was the right thing to do in her situation, and Miles chose his family because that was the right thing for him to do in his position, you know?
And it's also
When
the similar connection between those two characters in those heightened moments where you're not necessarily doing the clean thing. Because the clean
Yeah,
thing
there's a
as a mother
cost.
would be to go home, but you're doing the
Yeah.
thing that you feel like needs to be done ultimately for the greater good or whatever. And Miles is not doing the clean sanitary thing because it's war. There's people that do the
Yeah,
dirty
he's
things
murdering a
and then
bunch of
you
Yeah.
people in a
know,
room.
so that everybody else can morally stay clean where he did the thing that is going to sit with him, but it's what he
for
felt like
sure.
needs to be done, and
Yeah.
I think that in those heightened
Oof.
moments humans having to make those choices is such an interesting thing to navigate.
Miles is gonna have so many demons next season.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
When Robert was speaking earlier, something came to my mind, and now he was talking again, something else added to that. The first thing was that I remembered how the season starts, and that Kelly almost misses Alex's graduation because
Yeah.
she's looking for life at
Yeah.
the
Out
crater.
out on
Exactly.
While
Polygonauts, Abby, what's the name of what's his name again?
Kuznetsov, no, not Kuznetsov,
Thank you. He's rock.
him, yeah, the person. But then, that is mirrored by the fact that, like, yeah, they're a bit late because they stopped to have sex in the morning. But like Miles and his wife are like on time for the graduation. And so
Yeah.
it's back to what you guys said about the way both of them, not necessarily
Yeah.
one's the better parent than the other, but kind of like the way the show shows their parenting styles and like their
Yeah.
effects on their children.
That's actually a good
Yeah. So I
parallel.
guess it's a full
That
circle.
that saying that they have that you have about, like, you're gonna find some way to mess up your kids. It's like you can be, like, loving but distant because you're
Yes.
chasing something, or you could be present and still create a disconnect because you're just butting heads with your kid.
Hmm.
There's always something in navigating that, and I think people are doing their best, but when you're confronted with these heightened situations, sometimes you make choices that aren't always gonna make people happy, and I guess they're living their truth that murdering people in the
Yeah.
thing and dying on Titan, like, you gotta sometimes live your
Death
truth, you know?
death death is just where it's at sometimes. Death for you or for someone else.
That's actually gotta live for you, like
You gotta live for
fuck being a
you.
parent, like you're a person too. Like you have
Right,
dreams
yeah,
and goals too.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
We're gonna talk about Mars in a second, but let's just kind of wrap up with the science on Titan.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because over and over again it's said about how first of all what they find out is that a second type of life on Titan, right? The cell structures are
Yeah.
based on methane, not carbon, and everyone is talking about how this is like the greatest discovery. Is going to change everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
who wants to explain it? Who wants to explain it to the non-science oriented people? What exactly are the effects of this discovery?
if life can exist here, if it can adapt in these situations, then that means it's basically everywhere. Not not literally everywhere, but in
Yeah.
places they were never sure before that it would, because we only had ourselves to look at, right? We only
Yeah.
had carbon-based life in that developed the way that we did, and it's always been speculated that different trees of life would develop and evolve in different places, but we never had evidence of that yet. And so
Is there
Yeah,
now,
we do.
any not to sound like a capitalist, oh yuck, but is
No
there any
kidding.
Earth applications of like this discovery? Like, what are the applications? Is it just, oh, we know that there's life outside? Is there any real world applications on Earth?
Well, I
I mean,
think
not
anytime. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead, please.
Well, I think you kind of said it as far as like capitalists. I think anytime there is a new anything discovered, people are immediately going to be trying to figure out how to monetize it, how to turn it into fuel or energy or resources. I think that's always the difficulty of expansion and growth is you want to lean into your better angels, but there will be people looking to take advantage and get ahead in the new gold rush or whatever that looks like. So whether it's
Mhm.
life or a different substance, we saw that I think in season 4 when we discovered the substance, and then everybody was trying to like
Iridium.
Yeah.
get that asteroid. So I think that that's just part of the human nature aspect of, yes, we're amongst the stars, but like Pete, I think said earlier, we're bringing ourselves with us. Like humanity is
Mhm.
is there at all times as we expand, and so you're dealing with the good, the bad, and the ugly of that. And so you would think the idea that we're not alone kind of would shift perspectives, and yet I think we're still humans at the core, and there will still be people that are looking at it from a perspective of how they can take advantage of it or how they can take control of it or whatever that thing might be.
Yeah, because one of the big departures here is that this is not a nation. This is not the M6 that is
Yeah.
discovering this. This is a corporation. This is a
Hmm.
publicly
Mhm.
traded corporation with a board of directors who basically this is a proprietary discovery for them. Like it does have
Yeah.
an effect on mankind, but as far
Yeah.
as like what the value of it, like, you know, Corrigan already took their shot and missed whenever they tried to go there. So it's not like, you know, like this is really a discovery that's in the hands of the
The
capitalists at
world.
this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, we got this comment on last week's episode, and we can just use it to wrap up this discussion on Titan. If they, this is from Alvin Franklin 8774. If they discover life on Titan, it feels like it's setting things up for them to expand further colonization into the outer solar system for next season and for complete independence from anything on Earth, which I think we should be at by now. Next season could be an entire season all from other places in the solar system with no more connection with Earth.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna bring Robert Bailey Jr. in for the finale, just like in a scene what doesn't even take place in NASA, like you're just in a
Yeah.
car park with your car,
Uh,
like that feels like it's something that's gonna bring us back to Earth
Back.
again. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And
I
like I
mean, not
said, I think we have Ellen. I think we have an Ellen moment. I think we have more from Danielle Poole. I feel like there's a couple more things that we have to revisit on Earth in the
mhm.
finale. But as far as exploration is concerned, I do believe that that's the case. I mean, if you go to Titan, you can go to Io, you can go to
Mhm.
Europa, you can go to all these places. Like they're
It's
within your
endless
reach.
now.
So
Mhm, mhm.
that
Yeah.
feels inevitable to me.
But I also feel
Yeah.
like because we're done with war on Mars, like we will start to see Earth again. Like I think this season was heavily focused on the tensions and everything that happens. Okay, now that we've colonized this new place, what does that look like? Type of situation.
mhm.
And that was the primary separation, like, Earth and Mars. But now that, we have a ceasefire, we've discovered life, like we have something, like you said, science discoveries bring everyone together. Like we're being brought back together again, so I'm keen to see how that manifests, but I definitely do think we'll still be seeing Earth. I don't think For All Mankind is a show that will abandon mankind. You know what
Yeah,
I
I don't think
mean?
we're going full
Yeah.
like 5 different planets in
We
the
ain't
final season.
aliens. This isn't, monsters and aliens. Like we are about the we're about the people.
not not to fish for answers that we can't get from Robert Bailey Jr., but I would mention that we don't necessarily even know what Will's job is in this season. Like he just
Right,
answers
Yeah.
the
right, right,
phone.
right.
It's just like
Like
Right.
he could be
admin.
he could be working at, I don't know, Microsoft for all we know. Like he might not be at NASA. So like we don't
Yeah.
necessarily know that he's still at NASA. Even though I
Well,
guess
he
we
Well,
does
assume
we
he
say
do
that
is.
they
kind
record the
of.
calls, though, right? Or was
But
he
that's
talking
like
about
from
the
the prison
prison there?
side, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm no. I think that is in the prison side, but I also think that we're in a mode during the war where every sort of communication is on lockdown. It's very like need to know, and
That's
so
the feeling I had. Yeah.
Will is in the need to know camp.
Yeah.
He is aware of things, but he can't say things.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so Will is continued to move up um in influence and power is what I'll say. And
Okay.
He's gonna
well,
be the king of
if you
NASA next season or something.
Hey, learn you,
if
Margo.
you remember correctly, season 4, he was pretty up there in NASA. Was almost I
Yeah.
don't know if he was second in command at a certain point, but he was like one of the leads at NASA. And then the head kind of got arrested for the torture thing, and he's continued to move
The
up
little
over
torture
the
thing.
last decade. So uh, he is someone that is still very involved
Okay.
and
Yeah,
has a lot
I
of
know you're
inside
not giving
information on what's
away
going on.
spoilers
Yes.
Yeah, like
right
just
now,
you,
but
don't feel the need to say anything. Like I cut
my
all of that out if
my
you
head
want.
canon is filling out a lot of stuff here listening to you
Exactly.
talk.
That's what's fun about it. No, I'm not giving away spoilers. I'm only talking about what happened in that scene and where he's
Yeah.
at that point in time, yeah, I had a conversation. So I was filming something else in Canada, and so we didn't have time to prep. They hit me up when I was already away filming, so I literally flew in, and then I think the next morning or next day came to do that scene, which we filmed on election day of 2024. So
Oh
that was
wow.
we were in the parking lot, like looking at the results and then filming. It was quite the day. And anywho, basically just in the makeup trailer because we didn't have time to do prep or do his look or anything like that. So we were kind of figuring out, and then the producers came in and filled me in on what had been going on in the season because I wasn't, involved much at all. I was, doing other projects, and so they were just like, okay, this is what's
Mhm.
happened. This is where we're at. This is, we're at war and all these things. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was asking like, exactly how involved I was and what I was doing. And so I actually know where he's at and what's going on with him based on those
Mhm.
conversations leading into the scene. And so yeah, I would say that he's still um, he's moving on up in influence and power on Earth, and is very involved in
I
all
love that.
the he's in the room behind closed doors.
He's in the room where
You
it
know
happens.
The room where it
exactly.
happens,
He's
yeah.
he's
Yeah.
he's very much in the
Mhm.
room where it happens at this point in
Yeah.
time, and I
Okay.
think that is evolving in interesting ways.
I like that you said that because Gerardo said we are outgunned and outmanned. And I was like,
He did.
hey, I know where that's from.
Literally.
I watched
Okay.
Hamilton.
Then Manuel,
uh,
are you here?
yeah, okay. Let's do Mars. Almost an hour
Wait,
in.
sorry,
I
before we
if
leave
yes.
Titan, I just want to talk
Okay.
about, Kelly's final discovery. Before she entered, the water, she was already seeing, the blue light. So that already shows me that there were signs of life. I don't know if they have the other type of fishes on Titan or whatever it is that was in the water. Because when she started taking her steps, I see the lights around her, illuminate. So it's really like, okay, it's my emotions. I'm like, ooh. I'm like, is this toxic? Because she's just walking into this water. I don't know if she's gonna start melting, but it's looking pretty.
She's about to
Um,
die. I don't think she
It's about
cares.
50-50 though. Don't you think that it's like at least 50-50 of like
Yeah, like she could still be
because
alive.
yeah,
Well,
because the thing is like that they went to the planet to synthesize the propellant to be able to go
Mhm.
back, right? Like they can make stuff, right? So like whenever she's there, she is going up on that hill to leave her monument, to leave the plaque, and to do the Danny Stevens, right? To
Mhm.
die when her air runs out or whatever.
to the
But
Stevens.
then something changes for her. And I don't know if that's her like just being like, all right, this is a cool place to die. Look at these cool lights or whatever's going on there.
I think
Or
it's that. I think it's that. As
I mean,
someone
I
who
think
didn't
that
think she
works.
was,
Yeah, I think that works
yeah,
best. You know what I mean? But I feel like there's at least a sci-fi angle there that's like
Yeah.
there's something else going on
I
out
feel like
here,
there's
and it
2% hope.
might be something
Yeah.
we experience like magic because it's so different than
Mhm,
I
what
mean,
we already
okay,
know.
like,
mhm.
okay, I guess if they go the sci-fi route, it's be interesting because, like, as someone who didn't think she was dead until the credits rolled, if they come back in 2 years' time and they're like, guess what? Kelly's been alive. It's
Exactly.
like
This whole time. Just like
we might
Lee.
be very angry.
You
We
know?
might be
It's like
very angry.
Castaway,
No, but
you know?
look at how we discovered Lee had already been on Mars for all this time.
But
Like
that
that's
was
how
in
Yeah,
I
the same
feel.
for an
season.
entire
That was in the
season.
same
Mhm.
season. That
That's
wasn't
fair,
like
that's fair.
you didn't
Yeah,
have a
but the thing
2 year
is,
break
he
between
got there
seasons.
before. You know what I'm saying? Like he been there.
I mean,
So
look, maybe she's
I
like
don't think he's
Tarzan. Maybe like maybe
outside the
maybe
realm of
Titan's apes took
possibility
her
that
in.
she could be alive. Who knows if Titan slows down aging? We know
Yeah,
nothing.
Okay.
it would be a bit dishonest if they didn't show her in
It
the
would
flash
be.
forward right
Yes,
away.
it's too much.
Mhm,
I
Like
think it's
even if
too
she
much to
mhm.
dies,
ask
like
of
there
us.
probably would have been a trip to go back to Titan. They would have recovered her body or something, or
Yeah, because
Would
maybe
they?
that's the thing is like they
maybe
won't
not the intention, but by consequence.
she wouldn't be left there for 10 years on her own either
Exactly. They would
way.
have to go back.
So there
I
would
thought the idea was that she was gonna die in like hours because she didn't have enough oxygen to last even a return
That's what I'm
trip
no,
for
they
saying.
them.
What if
definitely
you just
were.
find the oxygen at the
Mhm.
end of the water?
Okay, okay, sure. It's like, you know what? I'll allow you, Angel. You were very emotional. You're writing your own ending. That's fine. I'll let you be.
um,
Okay, let's do Mars.
hmm,
We kind of and Pete, you alluded to this in your episode 9 video. And even like I think we did have a problem with it because we knew there was something that we're not seeing last week. Like we just knew there has to be a reason why we're not seeing not Dev, Miles and Aleida
Aleida.
all episode, right? Um, so we see the Moxie POV of last week's episode. Robert, I do apologize, but this episode cemented Aleida's position as, at least for me, and I think for everybody, the best character on the show.
Quite literally,
I
I
the person that
she
turned
and
this
she
flame.
knows that I agree, like, we
She is the baddest
that's
bitch
my
on the
Coral
show.
is my homie,
Period.
and, like, she knows exactly how I feel about her, so there's no
Period.
beef
Like
there, for me.
she's on point.
she let's go straight into it, right? Because she says
Mhm.
a few things, and I want to kind of know where everybody falls in this debate because I think it's worth the discussion. It could have been our entire episode, honestly. She says like they're not the only ones, they being M6, that led us to this moment. It's easy to start a war, but almost impossible to stop one. And she mentions how she's trying to save lives,
Hmm.
and she's very against. She's trying to beg Miles not to go ahead with pushing the button. Um, she says that they should fight for their or he should find his humanity, and he's like, "Well, I'm fighting for our humanity." Uh, Did any of you find yourself falling on a particular side of this discussion of this argument,
I was
Robert?
shook
When you
from
watched the episode, when you
the
read the script,
Oh, wait, who wants to start?
anyone can go.
Okay, yeah, I think for me, um, somebody like Aleda who is in the control room, you have to keep a broad perspective of what's important, and I think for her, she's always an interesting balance because though she has a similar family thing with that Kelly does, and is also really invested in being out in the stars. I think the sort of responsibility and weight that she carries is about overall what is possible and best for humanity. The possibilities that go into solving the problems or the new tech or reaching to different places. I think it's easy within herself to kind of disconnect from her emotions because of what she's been through. And therefore, she's almost like more precious about, hey, we can't lose this as a whole, as humanity. If we do this thing, that pushes over the line because I know what that feels like, right? And so for Miles, who has sometimes, eh, against his own will, been pushed into this position of leadership and has been historically sort of a man of action. I think this sort of like conceptual, intellectual possibility of Aleda versus like, I'm going to do the thing regardless of how it makes me feel of him is such an interesting place to come to between two leaders. And it's a really hard choice. I know I'm kind of like straddling here, but I think the thing is, I know in my heart and in my mind that I'm fully aligned with Aleida, but I think I would have the comfort of being there because somebody else would do it, and then I would be able to be
Exactly.
like, "Hey, you shouldn't have done that." But like low
Yeah.
key, I don't know what would have happened
Like,
if they hadn't.
but
You know?
thanks for
Yeah,
doing it.
Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
thanks for
Exactly.
doing it.
No, literally, thank you
Right.
for
Right.
doing it. Oh,
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
actually, that was pretty clutch, dog. Thank you. So.
yeah. No, like when that guy, the first guy, didn't push the button, I was like, "Ooh, okay,
Mhm.
thank God."
Right.
And then when Miles pushed it,
I
I said, "Well, wait," I literally was like,
I didn't think the show
I
was
couldn't
gonna go.
believe it.
As in,
I
like,
literally was like, "He's
I
there's no
I
way
didn't.
he's
I was
pushing
surprised
this
the show went
thing."
ahead with it.
Me too. I was
Hmm.
like, "There's no way there's pushing that button," but like you said, like you do need someone who's going to do the practical thing. At the end of the day,
Hmm.
Hmm.
it's into war. Yes, you are trying to. Alida's whole point in this whole thing is she's only been focused on, saving the Titan guys, maintaining life. Like this whole war absolutely means nothing to her. She literally doesn't give a fuck. She's just like,
Hmm.
guys, I need to save lives, and that's all I'm focused on. So I feel like
Hmm.
in that terms, she also got to Mars. She doesn't have the same stakes in this as Miles
Mm.
and the rest
Yeah,
of
she'll
them
go
does.
home, you
She
know?
she's
Hmm.
literally she
Hmm.
was ready to go home as at when
Hmm.
Titan was done. She's like, okay, guys, let me be on my way back. This doesn't concern her. So I feel like for her, that seems like maybe an outlandish reaction, and like it might seem so dehumanizing or like he's lost all his morals. But actually, we need Miles. We needed someone to do the practical thing because the M6 guys were coming in there shooting on sight. Like if they didn't do that, how exactly did they expect to survive that? Like even Alida herself could have been dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
it was the unclean thing to do, but I would have been happy. I'm happy to have had Miles there to do it because honestly, we can't. You see how after it happened, we actually moved on. We kept going because that's what needed to happen. If it hadn't happened,
Mhm.
like, what was the point of the governor damn near risking his life to do this? Him almost being blown as a double agent because what's his name? I can't remember his name was like, fuck you, you're a traitor. It's just like there's so many
Hmm.
people who have put their
Gerard.
lives at stake to get to this point, even them blowing up, the dock. There's so many things they've done to try and mitigate casualties here. But when you have people who are literally coming in here like, hey baby, we are plotting to kill you. This is like their one and only chance to do something that will turn the tides in their favor, to even get to a place where they could possibly like survive this. So
Hmm.
Mhm.
yeah, it was a gag, and that's why I said Miles's demons are gonna come for him hard next season. But we need his demon, you know.
Yeah, and they
But,
didn't it this isn't their choice, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the
exactly. They didn't
M6
want this either.
yeah, the M6 brought this to them. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like
that's the
this
thing
is
is, I think especially in times where like people are in a sense of safety and leadership, right? And they feel like they have the moral high ground because they're not the ones that started it. I think there's a,
Mhm.
a a reluctance to cross that line so that they're in the muck with them as well. But it
Yeah,
sometimes takes somebody snapping them out of like, hey, they're coming to kill us. We don't have time to be like, well, we're not gonna like steep to their level sort of thing. And so I think that's the thing is like they're still in a place of debate of like what this means about our humanity and it's like we're gonna die, they gotta die first. That's we're,
yeah,
we're having a different conversation. You're not ready for that because you're used to being in the control room like looking at screens and not being in the muck with everybody else. People are
mhm.
actively dying right now, so like you
it's
know
like
Y
you think about
um
any like
Yeah.
colonizer invasion, like when the activists start
mhm,
fighting back, all of a sudden now they're terrorists, but you actually came here to come
exactly,
and kill them.
Yeah.
exactly,
So
Yeah,
what do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
expect them to do?
and that's another valid point too is that like they've been that's what they'd be like a lady could go home a hero for the
Hmm.
Titan thing. They're going to go home to be prisoners because they've been painted as terrorists and
Yeah.
insurgents on the media. It'll be a show trial. They'll
Hmm.
basically their lives would be over either way, whether
Yeah.
they live or
Some
they.
literally, some will literally
Yeah,
die in
And
prison.
Miles
Yeah.
had already done that. He'd already been tortured by them in
exactly.
the last time. He did what they asked him to do under duress with this idea that okay, if you do us a solid here, we'll let you go. We'll let your family go. And then they reneged on that whenever, you know what I mean? Whenever they came back this time because they were saying Palmer's like, "Yeah, we told you we would let you do whatever,
Yeah,
but now we need your help again. And if you
yeah,
don't help us, we're going to expose what you did the first time so that, we can sow dissent through the ranks as well." You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think I ended up kind of where you all just kind of ended up in terms of like, in an ideal world, we want Aleida to be correct. We want what she's saying to be
Yeah.
the truth.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then she can say that because she's an implant here. She's not
Yeah.
fighting for her home the way everyone else is. And all season we're talking about the allusions to like colonization and imperialism that's on Earth, on Mars. And then last week, especially because last week was quite a tough episode to talk about, we talk about like just the violence, right, of like people coming in with guns and killing settlers
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
Earth
It inserts
keeps
evil power
control
here.
through violence.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
The
it's
threat
like
of violence is how the status quo exists, right?
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
Guns
So
first,
And
what
questions
are they
later.
supposed to do?
And then because like it's easy to be like, oh, this is not the right way. Like as you said, Angel, this is not the right way
Yeah,
to
you
fight.
don't want to
But
kill
then,
people. None of us want to kill people.
yeah,
but
at the point we can't
Sometimes people
dictate
gotta
how
die.
people fight back. Okay, let's put as the summary. Sometimes you just gotta die. Yeah. So I think it was just kind of, I was like, this is the reality of the situation. The truth is that we can't kind of dictate how, like, these guys have been pushed into a corner, and in that corner they have to push the button. And it was just
Yeah.
I loved it because like Aleida is, like I said, the best character, so it makes sense that she will have this opinion, but at the same time it is from a privileged position
Yeah.
of
I feel like if she
safety.
was a
And
Mozzie, she might have had a different opinion on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's someone who is visited, and she's
Yeah,
like, oh
exactly. She's
wait,
on the
don't.
outside looking in. She got trapped in
Yeah,
this hostage
she's
situation.
like
Like, actually,
she's like,
nothing
let's
concerned
send
her.
letters to our Congress people. Let's not go to the
Mhm.
yeah,
streets.
Like,
And
let's
we got to
talk,
vote
we can
harder next time
communicate.
so that Bragg's not in charge or whatever.
yeah, make
I've
sure you
always
vote. Like,
I've always actually felt that Coral and her character Aleida, since she came on the show, it has really been the core of the show in a way, and sort of the moral center of it.
Yeah.
Um, and even as she struggles with her own things personally, she's just such a solid thing that everybody else can kind of like have their own like, irresponsible cowboy emotional things around. And yet
mhm.
she's so I just feel like what she represents for the show and who she is as a character is so central to having something from which to explore from. That's her to me.
Yeah.
And even when looking at the character of Margo and Ren, who I
Exactly.
love that character, but I think as she's gone more and more, um, off the the ledge, with everything she got involved in, and then going to prison and whatnot, I really
Mhm.
feel like Aleida has been this center, even in a way that Margot never really was, because
Yeah.
it's like I think Aleida learned in her own way because she has so much Margot in her, but she learned to do the same things but connect, even if it's not like smooth or easy. She has more connections with people and bring them in than Margot was ever really able to do. And the one time she really did, like that blew up in everyone's face. But I think, and in a way, with Aleida, even if it's been strained, the things she was able to pass down to Aleida and connect to um, with her on, Aleida has been able to carry that forward and be
Mhm.
that center for everyone, but still be, maintain her version of connection and humanity, and find, build things with people and grow with people and step into that position
Mm.
without having to, isolate herself in the way that I think Margot was never really able to overcome fully. And when she
Yeah.
decided to step away from what she was to find maybe a new life or love or whatever, it turned out to be this messy thing that, it was heartbreaking in that way. Anyways, I say all that to say that for me, your instinct in feeling like she's the best character, I want to agree and to think she's so central to the show being able to be what it is and do what it does. We need
Mhm.
her at the core of it, and I think she continues
Yeah.
each season to step into more and more of that role. And like, I love watching her. And I've seen her in other stuff too. I've gone to watch her in plays. Like, that's my friend, and she's so brilliant.
Mm.
And I've never left a performance of hers not buzzing and just like, oh my God, what did I just watch? She's so incredible. And
Yeah.
so I think what she does on this show, because she is such a rock, can be so understated. that it can be easy to just be like, oh yeah, she's doing the thing and not really like process. But she's so brilliant, and I love
Yeah.
her to death. Hmm.
Plus, also, like, she doesn't hold her morality over anybody. Like, you see that in her
Exactly.
ability to still maintain a relationship with Margot, to be able to work with Irina in this episode to save lives, to continue to work with Miles, to continue to work with Dev. She's gonna tell you straight
Hmm.
up what you're doing is absolutely fucking bullshit, and I hate it. But anyways, let's get back
Yeah,
to
she would
work. Let's do
But
what we need to
she
do.
would never believe it about herself, but she is a
No,
connector. She's a bridge
she
to other
is.
people. And Margot was a silo. People were inspired by what Margot was
Yeah.
capable of, but they can never connect to
Mhm.
her.
Like, you
And
even
Leda
see it
doesn't
in
really
her
see herself
relationship
that
with
way, but people
Miles.
still connect to Leda and they build things
Yeah,
together. That's a
yeah.
beautiful talent that she
Like,
has that she would never even see about herself, you know?
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
and that's
Miles, who just met her, looks up to her, like lauds her opinion, like
Yeah.
respects her so much that he's like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. And she's like literally, what I gotta do with me? I'm trying to do the Titan
It's like
mission.
I'm
You do your
busy.
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Pe-
yeah,
yeah,
Peter, what are you gonna say?
that's one of the things the show really does well is that, like, you see that with the Baldwin generations. They take a little bit from Kelly takes a little bit from Ed, and she has become her own person and has learned from his experiences and her own. Aleida's kind of the same with on the Margot side, and just across the board, the way that they use that generational thing that they have going to really, give us something that produces like the right kind of TV drama,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's really specific to this show because of the time jumps.
Uh,
yeah.
Speaking of generations, I guess let's touch on Alex and Avery.
Whew.
If you told me beginning of the season that I would like Alex and Avery as much as I do at the end of the season, I would have told you you're lying.
Yeah, like
Like
it's come
is
on
it because
now.
Actually,
do I like seeing characters go through pain? I don't know. I was like, oh yeah, this is kind
It's
of
like they're no Tracy and Gordo. Come on.
yeah.
yeah, they're not Tracy and Gordo. But can I say though, I am very impressed with the show showing restraint and not giving us any fan service between Alex and Avery.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
oh yeah, my dad is Dennis Stevens. Oh, okay, my
Mhm.
mom was Kelly Baldwin. Like they
Mhm.
didn't do. They could have done. I thought they were going to do it at the elevator. I thought that's what they were going to do. Like,
Yeah.
I was quite impressed that the show was able to show some restraints there.
Connected as
Yeah.
each other, not as whoever they're
Exactly, not
representing,
as
Exactly.
their
unfortunately,
Totally.
over
their
a
lineage.
shared friend that they have, which, by the way, I have to say, thank God Alex is not a killer. I genuinely could not handle that.
Yeah,
Like,
that
I
Right?
understand.
And I like Haskell too, you know?
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
I
hey,
love
Yeah, like
Haskell.
guy.
I've been
that
shouting
would have been
Haskell,
upsetting.
Haskell's Haskell's praise since episode one. I've been very pro
Mhm.
Haskell.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think there's much to say about the Alex and it was a good conversation to have.
Yeah, it was
Again,
a nice
just
moment.
I would like to say
more
some if
layers.
we're going to
Yeah.
move in, I would like to speak on them
Yes.
in
Put on
particular.
your
And
soapbox, King.
so look, this is a very established show. We're in season 5, and
Hmm.
people love the characters that have been on the show. It is a huge ask for people and young people to come in and take over a show essentially as people transition off. I mean, this is the season where we finally saw Joel as Ed die. You know, it was a long time
Hmm.
coming, and so he finally like left the
Old
show,
man Ed.
and I do feel like even energetically in a sense like he left, and then the next episode is when Avery came on, Inez, and there was just something emotional about that for me. Anyways, I say all that to say, um, eh, these guys are brilliant and really good people that you don't always find. They fit into the vibe that the show has been, this entire time. And I think they bring a new energy, but it is always a tricky thing storytelling wise to be in the middle of an emotional arc that you're taking an audience on and then introduce completely new characters and you kind of have to like restart. And so I understand fully the idea that early in the season you're like, what is this show becoming? But I hope that we've established a level of trust overall as a show to be like, okay, we got to set this up to then bring you back on the ride again because it is a whole new generation. If we're telling the story that is a every season we're in a new decade, these kids are going to become prominent, so we have to give them a chance to establish themselves. And we, I think, hopefully over the course of the season did a good enough job to bring in people that you already knew to help with that bridge and find their footing throughout the course of the story. And I'm really excited to see how they continue to develop in this show. But anyways, I would say that um, sometimes even I think of like when you have a new person playing a superhero, and we're so used to that character that when they start, you're like, I can't really do it. And then by the end of the movie or the thing, it's like, oh, they've come into the thing. It's like we sometimes have to remember that we're not starting from where we're trying to end up with these characters. We're meeting them at a place to then take you on the ride. And I think everybody did a really great job of that this year, and they brought in a lot of new people that weren't watching the show that were curious because they were in it and were like, "What is this thing?" And so I think everybody's kind of winning in a different way. But I'm a big fan of theirs, and I've met them and I've talked to them about what I think about their work, and yeah, like I was saying, when I saw Ed go out. And then the next episode, we meet Avery, and there was just so much going on with her. I was like, "Oh, what is this?"
Mhm.
And it's so cool to have it's almost like in it I think in the more positive sense of it, almost like the Skywalker legacy of like, oh, what's the impact of these parents that have had so much legacy. Now the kids have to like deal with that. And we've seen how that's gone in the previous generation, and not the best way all the time.
Mhm.
But how are they carrying all this? Because we've seen the generations of what that weight might be, and like it seems to be impacting them all in different ways that are fascinating for me to watch. So, anyways, that's my whole thing. As like, I just think that it's a big deal to come into this sort of situation to try to take over in a sense. Like everybody's dead. Like there's a
Yeah.
couple of people left. Like they're having to take over a show in season 5 because everybody aged out or is dying, and now they have to like carry that. And that's a lot to step into. And I think they did a really good job of it. And I'm excited to see where they keep going.
Yeah, it's interesting too because you did a great job of coming up and being a new character in your season when you were first introduced, and you didn't have that baggage because you weren't in the
No,
families, you know
You
what I
weren't
mean? Like
Gordo's
Hmm.
son.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah, so you had I remember watching that and because at first, it's hard to say. Like you said, whenever you get used to the cast, you're like, I'm not sure how I feel about this new. I remember liking your character right away because of some of the stuff you're doing, but you were also, like, at odds with Chris Marshall, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
your character
Yeah.
did something that pissed her off, and that's a character
Exactly.
that we like and we're invested in, you
That's what
know
I'm
what I mean?
saying, yeah,
Mhm.
and
So, like,
I think
there's
if
just, like,
we have
layers
the
of
season
dynamics
where
there.
where you see the Stevens, Tracy and Gordo, when you see them go out on the moon, and then episode 1, season 3, it's me on Mars, and you're just like, "Who is this?" Like, it's
Literally.
harder for me to win people over because I'm coming into a thing where the people you've connected to are just gone, and you're having to reinvest, and so
Mhm,
I was lucky on my season that my storyline, though I didn't have really, all the baggage you're talking about, we were in the thick of riding with everybody we've come to love already, and so I'm able to
mhm,
slide in there and then just we're in the groove. But now we've come to a place where unless we're like getting into everybody's, over 100 years old, we gotta like change the energy a bit and introduce new
Yeah.
Yeah.
people. And I think by the way, Mireille, I haven't really got a chance to speak on her. I love watching her and everything
Oh,
that she does. She's
amazing.
been like just the moment she's on screen, and I love her, and I love that her and Joel are always like kind of working on things together, crossing over. That's so fun. And
mhm.
she's really wonderful and brilliant to talk to in general, just as a person. But for the young group, like that's a lot to step into, and I think we were talking about toxic fan bases. I don't think we have that in For All Mankind really at all. But I do think people care about the show and care about the quality of the show and like have strong opinions about like if it's
Mhm.
continuing on that arc. And I think I'm glad at the top of the episode, Angel, you were saying that we landed the plane because I know that sometimes we can, you don't really know as an audience, like, oh, where are we going? But then we like bring it, we land the plane. And so that's
Yeah.
what I'm,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm speaking to more so is I think people might not have been sure, especially I was dying laughing when we did the not the,
The
the dance
flash
break
mob?
thing. What is it called?
Yeah.
The flash mob. I was dying laughing. It was so funny for me. And I was also just like, that is something that we were doing back then. Oh my God. Like it was really
Yeah.
brilliant. But I think with any sort of art, really, and I think about this with like Vince Gilligan stuff too, because sometimes a lot of the conversation we were having around that was with people about pacing and complaining about that sort of thing. It's like
Mhm.
when you
Mhm.
trust artists to cook, like sometimes
Exactly.
you might not be sure about where we're at on the ride, but if we land the plane for you and you go back and reflect on where we took you, sometimes those periods were necessary to kind of like
Mhm.
really take you on that journey. Because if it's just a straight through line, it's not as satisfying when you get the conclusion. You sometimes
Yeah.
have to be unsure. You sometimes have to be like, what are they doing? How do I feel about this? That's a whole part of the process of taking in art in
Yeah.
general. And
Absolutely.
Mhm.
so I think we cooked and we did a really
No.
difficult thing of bringing in
Yeah.
people that you're not familiar with, that are young, that people that have gotten used to the rhythm of a show where we're telling really mature stories. It's like, oh, we're gonna spend time with these teens, whatever people might have been on. It's like we have to introduce them so that they're in the thick of war, and you're like, oh,
You
they're not
care.
ready for this. Like you
Yeah.
you 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 care about them. You feel protective over them in the way that the people that you were connected to do, because Chris knows Avery, and because Alex is Kelly's son. Like,
Mhm.
but then you're spending time with them in their innocence, and you're like, I don't know how to feel about this. What are we doing? And then they're in this like gigantic attack, or then they're in war, and you realize that innocence you're watching be destroyed. That's an entirely different experience. So in those moments, you might have been like, I don't know if I want to watch this, because this is not what I was wanting to continue to watch with the rest of the show that I've invested in. But there's usually a
Yeah.
reason for it if there's really good writers. And I think people that love the show feel like there's been really good writing throughout the show. So yeah, I think once you sometimes can take in the full picture of things, it starts to make sense why certain things were done. Or if you're still like, nah, I still wasn't into it. Well, there's probably a lot of other things you were into over the course of the season. So we are where we
Yeah.
are, and it is what it is. But yeah, I do know that I felt very lucky coming into the show, and I did when it was in the thick of being really established with a lot of characters people loved, and I could just kind of like
Yeah.
play my role as the like army Swiss knife in a way. But taking over a show that is beloved is its own unique challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, to echo
Um.
what you said, like when we started this season, I think in lots of our sentiments, even with the guests we've had on, is very much we don't give a damn about these children. Like, literally, who are
Right,
these
sure,
kids?
sure.
Like, because the last time we saw or heard about them, Alex is what, a baby, like literally
Exactly.
infancy.
Yeah.
We hadn't even seen
Yeah.
Lily. So we're just like,
Mhm.
okay, we're following them. Like that first episode, I was like, okay, so this is what we're doing. But I think we had
Mhm.
enough trust in, the caliber of the show, and like you said, the writers to know that okay, we're clearly gonna go somewhere with this. And
Yeah.
boy,
Exactly.
oh boy, did they take us there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
um. I think we cooked. Just put in a t-shirt. That's all I've been thinking about for the last 2 minutes. Just I think we cooked.
Yeah,
Think we cooked.
Um. Uh, okay, just a few things I want to talk. I mean, we've kind of already discussed the Aleida thing, so I don't think we need to discuss the Aleida and Irina conversation. 'Cause I think it's all kind of the same sandwich. Um, However, I did take note of Irina saying, there was a time when I was as idealistic as you, perhaps more so, and I was just like, Star City
Star
backed up
City,
pilot,
yeah,
Star
yeah.
City
yeah,
backed up pilot, Star
yeah.
City backed up pilot. I was just like, my eyes were just flashing.
Like I
Yeah.
the thing that sold me on Star City in general was the episode this season where we like saw her come out of prison, and I was just like,
Yep,
oh,
Mm,
she's such a bad. Like I low key,
literally.
I'm not a big proponent of like the de aging mocap, but like I love
Mhm.
We call her Spetty Wap. Svetlana is so dope that I would absolutely watch her like perform her younger self
play
in
the
Star City
young.
all day, because
Yeah,
I love her that much. She's so incredible. But
steady
that
up. I
episode
love
was like
that.
such a cool moment.
It
Yeah.
was like, she's hard to hate, like, yes,
Mhm.
we've seen her from the point of view of, back you, wait, let me
No,
recap.
she was easy to hate last season. She was
She
very
was
easy to
very
hate last season.
she was
This
Yeah,
very
yeah,
easy
yeah,
to
season,
yeah,
hate
yeah.
last season, yes,
yeah,
she
this
was,
season less
but
so.
She
even, like,
Mhm.
orchestrated
just
she
seeing the
orchestrated Sergey getting shot in the head while he was eating a burger.
that's what I'm saying, like,
That
we've
was
seen
tough.
her
That was
from
tough.
the
It
KGB
was tough,
side,
you know?
we've seen what she had to she had to become, she became that,
Mhm.
Mhm.
that wasn't always her, like, what she's alluding, but even in that, like, since then, like, now that she's no longer involved in that, like, clearly she's a woman who's just about her job, she's just doing the job. Now that she has a different job, she's solely focused on that job, so in that sense, I say she's hard to hate because she literally she didn't have to offer help to Alida. She genuinely didn't,
Mhm.
like, wasn't concerned, nothing concerns her, but she cares, and I think she's in a position where now she can show a little bit that she cares, and
Mm-hmm.
she's doing just that, which is why I say she's hard to hate, because coming off how much I hated her in the previous seasons, like
Oh
I was
yeah.
mostly indifferent to her this season, like coming on, like literally when she first came out, I was like, oh, here go Irina, coming with all her
Yeah, yeah,
bull.
go arena.
Like, she about to do some shit, but honestly, she's actually been
Like
pretty
a
tame.
sitcom. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
go
no,
arena.
no, Irina.
It's
Arena.
arena. What are you
Yeah,
gonna do?
no, literally. Do, 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 do. So no, I totally, totally feel that. I love Spetty Wap taking that.
Yeah,
But on
Spider
the
Web is
other
great.
side, someone we
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
spoken
yeah.
about is Dev. You know,
Dev, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Um,
I'm glad you brought that up.
okay,
redemption.
I'll just throw the question out. Do we buy it? Does
Yeah,
anybody have any argument against the redemption?
no, he puts his life in danger to prove that he does. He has
Did he?
reasons.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he
Like, what
did.
was he thinking? It's
Danger.
like, what was
Yeah,
he? Why
yeah.
stay on
He
the
had to prove
ground, Dev?
somehow that, I feel like, his remorse really comes through, especially when you
Mm.
see him talking to Alex, and immediately he's like, when Alex is confronting him, and he's immediately like, yeah, I fucked up. That was on me, actually. And when he tells him that he's too focused on Meru, he's like, yeah, he was too focused on bringing the right kind of people to Mars, not realizing
Bro,
the
when he
kind of
said
people were
that,
already
I was
there.
like, Dev, who are the right people, Dev?
Yeah.
What? I said, what?
What are
That's
their
somebody
skin
whose
colors,
eyes are
Dev?
open.
Who are the right people?
Yeah. How
That's
would you
somebody
He
who's
tell
said,
them different? How would they appear
yes,
differently from the other wrong people?
literally,
Dev.
How
literally.
would
I'm
you
like,
What
be
bro,
do
he
your
was
able to
right.
brains sound like,
identify them
Dev?
so easily?
It's like,
Like his rightness was based on wealth and prestige, clearly, because
oh
who
my
else
Yeah,
could
yeah.
god,
afford to live in Maroon that
Dev.
would live in Maroon?
Education,
Exactly.
Yeah.
things that aren't
Like,
available equally to everyone. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
Basically, just a Nepo city. That's crazy. Oh my
exactly.
god.
And being somebody
But
who's
I think the real question for Dev is not what I mean. I think he did redeem himself to a point, but the real question is, can you trust him going forward? Like, does
yeah,
it really matter? Does it change anything for him?
his actions
Because
will have to show.
yeah,
Like,
I
it's
think
how's
this
he
I
gonna
has
don't
to
use
think
be
I
it.
don't think you can
how's he
just
gonna
buy
invest
it.
Helios in this? Exactly. Like he's actually, and that's why I say I believe in his redemption, because he actually put his life on the line to prove that, hey, I'm trying to help you guys. Like I'm trying to help because I believe in this now. Now with him being the president, what are we calling him these days? Founder, being the founder of
Founder,
Helios.
yeah.
How is he going to, how do I say, what do you say, repackage those resources? Like whatever he was planning for Mario, how
He's
is he going to,
planting.
like, how's he going to make that work for Mars? How is he going to make the right, now that he knows the right people are here, how is he going to use his influence and his resources to help those people? Like we saw him planting again, we saw him
Yeah.
putting his hand to the soil and trying to fix what he's literally personally broken. So I feel like we definitely do have to give people a chance to change and show that they can change, which is, very human of us. And I think Dev is just going to have to keep proving
Yeah.
himself in that way.
Mhm.
Hopefully not forever, but definitely for a little bit. Like people won't just
But
get to the fact that you're going to reduce them by like 95% just because,
yeah.
you know.
But
Yeah, I
Pete, to your question, I sorry, I think story wise, I think it has to be like his redemption. I do think it can't be Charlie Brown in the football, where next season Dev
Yeah.
is the villain again, or
Yeah,
Mhm.
betrays somebody
yeah.
again. I
He has
think
to
this
both.
has to be the breaking point, and then
Yeah,
he's on the good side.
Yeah, I agree. That's sort of what I was going for, was that I hope that
Yeah.
we're not gonna play this game of like, "Oh, but that is Dev. It's
He's the
shady old Dev. Is
billionaire,
he up
like
to his old
Yeah.
tricks again?" You know what I mean?
no,
well,
I would hope not. Yeah.
I think that thing about, most villains don't think of themselves as villains, and they can find ways to
Yeah.
justify. I don't. By the way, I
Yeah.
actually don't think of Dev as a villain, but knowing
Just a
who
billionaire,
he is.
you know?
Right, right, essentially, and I think of someone who, in his mind, cares about the future of Mars, as he says, and from his perspective, feels like though he's building it, he's a sort of visionary that is thinking, "Okay, who can I position so that Mars is protected as far as having people of certain power and influence so that they have a seat at the table overall and won't be just kind of like, the stepchild of the power that's back on Earth," and that's where his
Mhm.
head's at. And so I think he's overlooking, not even intentionally devaluing, but just overlooking the people that are there actually building it, because he's playing
Mhm.
chess about like how he's going to position Mars to be the new power player. I think that's where his head's at, and he's like he can get very cutthroat and ruthless, and we've seen him do that as a businessman. But I think when we see the consequences of him not like looking at how it's affecting the people around him, we see that he's not trying to be cruel or ruthless. It has an impact on him, and he takes a step back versus someone who's just being cutthroat and is like, "Oh, I'm just going to mow through people to get what I want." I think he's trying to be precise and surgical in orchestrating things. And then when it hurts people in a way that he didn't anticipate, it's like he was blind to that. That's kind of like the hubris of that sort of genius where you feel like you can
Yeah.
calculate all the things to manipulate the
Mhm.
board. And then when people start dying, it's like, oh, well, crap. I didn't mean for that part to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
not what I was
Yeah.
actually going for. So I honestly don't think it was about him being some sort of evil
Evil.
mastermind, but maybe a bit like cocky in how much he could move things the way that he saw and orchestrate around the rules or people or what they wanted because he knew what was best. And I think you can get to extreme places in that thing because in your mind, the ultimate goal of what you're going for is what's best for everyone. But then
Yeah.
when you start
Yeah.
seeing the harm done, you can really wake up to, oh, I wasn't going about this the right way, and I should trust the people around me a bit more instead of kind of being the puppeteer,
Exactly.
you
You
know?
can't be so decider what's best for everyone, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly, but he's used to
I
in his
s-
entire life, that's how he's
Exactly.
gotten to where he is. So he's used to just kind of grabbing all the power and then orchestrating things, and I think he thinks with where he's come to, his heart is in the right place because he is in a way trying to take care of everyone, but we've seen now that, that can have really harmful consequences, especially when you're not letting other people into what you're going for and trusting that it can be a shared vision, really.
um we haven't really mentioned Lily this episode. Miles, in
Mhm.
the kind of the end montage, Miles is
Mhm.
appointed the new governor,
Yeah.
and Lily's face is a bit. Look, don't tell me Lily can't hold this in for 8 years. Like, like if we come back next season, and Lily's like, "So I heard that you betrayed your people almost 20 years ago." It's like,
You're a
Mhm.
traitor,
it's
Dad.
like,
I know the truth.
it's like Lily, it's been 8 years. You've known this for 8 years. You're
You know
27 now.
what?
What are you doing?
I'm
Well,
going to
What I wonder
postulate
what the
something. She's gonna let it go.
yeah, what's the thing that they're trying to bring out there? I mean,
I think she's
she
gonna let it go.
that people do
Well,
things that,
Yeah.
like sometimes people have to do things, hard things, you know what I mean? Sometimes you need those people in the room, kind of a
yeah.
I feel
lesson.
like, especially having experienced this war, although her face was a little fallen, the fact that she's still showing up, like Lily, if we see Lily that we saw at the start of the season, right? If they'd given her that
Mm.
information at the start of the season, she probably would have been the one to leak it herself. You know what I
To
mean?
Yeah.
Baba.
That's where high integrity levels lie, right? I think now having experienced, all this that has gone on with Mars and gone through the war, she can have a little bit more respect for. I can see why people have to do hard things for the greater good. She doesn't even know about
Mhm.
him killing everybody in the base yet, but like even if she finds out, it's kind of like these are the spoils of war. Actually, it's like yes, you might have to do some bad things, you might have to get your hand dirty, but at the end of the day, it's like what's your motivation? I think at the end of the day, she knows her dad is a good person, and she sees how people
Uh-huh.
look up to him, and she knows how that information can twist everything that he's, even in the way that Palmer delivered it to her, knowing that the intention was to twist her view of her father and like
Mhm.
basically poison it. I feel like in her growing teenage adult brain, she's going to let it go. Like she may address it with him, but I don't think it'll be a thing of like, oh, like, like it's just like seeing your parents are people. You know what I'm saying? They're not perfect.
Yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
they might
Mhm.
posture themselves as perfect and always want to do the right thing, but you find out at the end of the day, like they're just human at the end of the day, and they're just going to make the right decision for what they think is important. And thankfully, what Miles thinks is important here is his family. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
she's
that's
probably
well
gonna let
said.
it go. Like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's yeah. I mean, I would be very surprised if it never comes up again because if that was the case, then we should have addressed it this episode
yeah.
because it
Yeah.
feels like that show just felt like, oh, we're going to talk
Yeah,
about this
there's some we're going to see
next.
something
Yeah,
about it later. I'm
like I
hoping
don't
it's
think
not
I
like
don't think it's going to be
she's
like
going
a
to get on
big
her
thing,
white
but
horse
yeah,
and start doing flags. So I'm just like, girl, please be so for real.
yeah,
Like
And
the
it
situation, like
was
by
a
the time you told them, it didn't even matter. Like, like please.
yeah.
and it
Please,
was
what
a
you can say?
running thing throughout the season. I mean, Palmer
Yeah.
Mhm.
was holding it over his head. That was something that he felt bad about. on a personal level, didn't want to get
Mhm.
out because it would break morale and everything
Yeah.
else. So
Like, he literally had to fight that, like, okay, I'm risking Palmer telling everybody this secret, but he's like, I have to take that risk and still fight for the people anyway. If Palmer does this, then so be it. So,
yeah, like
Mhm.
he
yeah.
had to cross that line
Yeah,
once he saw them knock her out
exactly.
during the
Yeah.
riot. So
He couldn't
Yeah.
keep straddling the fence.
very complicated situation for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Avery is using Stevens on her
Hey,
Helios suits.
Yeah.
should
I
I
don't
go
know
to
how she's
the
I don't know
hashtag?
how she's arrived at this place, but I would accept it. Some
Like
very quick
she's not in
therapy.
the is she not in the military anymore? Like
It looks
I
like
was
she's not with the
wondering.
M6 anymore.
Yeah, it was a Helios suit. She was wearing
Yeah.
Stevens. I was like, okay, there's some
And
very
I wonder
quick
if
therapy,
maybe
but
just everybody from the M6 just stayed on the base and
Yeah,
just,
they're like, "Hey,
like,
this
might
seems
as
like
well
a
just
cool
be
place."
I
Marosies,
don't think everybody. Some
Yeah,
of those
probably
people
not
were
everybody. A lot of them were
pretty
definitely
mean.
on one.
Yeah,
Go back
She
yeah,
there.
killed
somewhere.
someone. She definitely took out someone's family member.
Yeah,
That woman that she shot in the
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
but yeah, the
That
fog
might
of war and all
that
of that.
Tug of war,
Literally.
yeah.
yeah.
Totally, totally.
Sorry about your
um,
mom, dude.
yeah,
It
I'm
was
even just
war.
more interested in how did she like. I mean, I'm not saying these are things I can allow. I'm not saying you have to show us how she got there, but like, where did she get comfortable with using Stevens again? Like, what changed? What
Mm,
happened? Yeah,
like, I feel like
it's kind
it's
of
very important for them to show us her going to see, the infamous location of
the sites. Yeah.
like,
Mhm,
you have to
mhm.
confront your demons, so I think this is part of her,
Mm.
like,
Exactly.
confronting her demons, essentially, and I'm keen
Yeah.
to see how that plays out, like, I miss the Stevens, like, skipping their
You
Mhm.
children, but
missed
I
the
miss the Stevens.
Stevens.
You hear me say skipping
Yeah.
their children. I miss the Gordon
Okay.
children.
Oh,
Now
Tracy
we're
and
talking about,
yeah, we
like,
all
if you
miss
skip a
Tracy and
generation,
Gordo.
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you
Sorry,
skip
sorry,
yeah.
Robert. We are very anti Danny and what's his brother's name?
Can't even
Oh,
remember,
I
we
can't
always forget.
I can't remember his
How
name.
can we not remember his
Yeah,
name? Oh my god.
Yes.
we actually did
Can I
this the
also
last
say,
time
man,
too.
because
Jimmy.
I worked with
Is
him,
Danny and Jimmy.
I'm blanking on his name now because 'cause it's been years, but I worked
Yeah.
on, season 3 with the guy playing
Mhm.
Danny, who man, like, he's so good and got such a thankless
Yeah.
role, like, it's such like, I
Yeah.
know people hate that
He
role,
has
but
a
he's
he has a
so
movie
good.
star kind of look to him, you know what I
He
mean? Like
he's
you could
he's
see him
so
being
brilliant
Jimmy
and really good,
Stevens.
Yeah.
and, like, so I it was tough to because I know he was aware that the fans did not like his character in that storyline,
Yeah.
but he was so good and just, like, a cool dude, so I always feel for it's tough to be on a
Yeah,
show
he
that
was
you
the
love, and
Joffrey of
you're
this
playing
show.
your role, and it's written in a way that, like, it ain't gonna do you any favors as far as, like, people really
Yeah.
riding.
Oh, I had I
So
had I had I had that feeling. No, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm guessing you haven't had time to watch it, but I had that feeling watching the drama this year, and I was like, "Huh, you took this role. That's very brave of
Don't
you."
kill
That's
me.
like,
Like
yeah,
I was
who? Like
like,
Robert? Are we talking about our path?
no, I don't. No, 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 Arp. I don't want to say the
Okay.
character because, but
Okay.
you should know the worst
Yes,
character in
yes,
in the
yes,
movie.
yes, yes, yes,
I know
yes.
what
So
you're
we're
talking
like,
But I
about,
think
yeah.
it worked. I think it worked for them, It showed
Exactly,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh,
Yeah, I think this is a bit different,
yeah.
because I think that leaned into the tone of that thing, whereas I think this one was one of the moments maybe that felt so discordant for viewers
Yeah,
as far as,
literally,
like, what are we doing in particular,
literally he was
and
this guy.
yeah,
yeah,
Like everybody
and
else is
but
just like you can connect
right.
with them, you like them. Him is just like, what?
Exactly, and so it's
yeah.
tough because, like, you're showing sometimes the trauma that can come from people that grew up under famous parents and that legacy and how that can kinda mess you up in the head and
Yeah.
and and
Hmm.
and, you know, he played the shit out of it, he just, like,
Very
I
You
get
well,
know
why
what
hundred
mad
people didn't
me is
percent.
like
that
Yeah,
it, so
ideally we should hate Karen more than Daddy for what happened, but we hate Danny
yeah,
more. Like
right,
somehow.
like, low key, and you get the humanity of it and where people are at and why they do things that everybody, like, does messed up stuff or makes mistakes, but
Yeah.
yeah, so anyways, I get the Stevens hate for that generation, but they are the product of their parents that we
yeah,
all
yeah,
loved,
Yeah.
yeah,
and then it
Yeah.
came out in a way that the most extreme way because that's what we're doing, and then
yeah.
and then we have Avery that's, like, dealing with the weight of all of that, and it's so fascinating to see how she so I love that Stevens moment because for me, I know it can feel like a really quick resolution, but for me, it's really the start of a journey because she felt like she was avoiding so much even going to confront that, part. Like,
Yeah.
she
Hmm.
wanted certain things, but, like, what it meant to her being back in that place was such a big thing that I think just being there and having that experience, it's just like, okay, I'm ready to start claiming who I am, even if I'm still discovering it. I'm ready to start like facing what happened and not letting it define me so much because it's defining me by running away from it. And this is who I am, that and everything involved. And now I can live my life essentially. So it really feels like the start of a journey for her, for me, as opposed to like the closing of a chapter. It is a closing of a chapter, but it's the closing of her running away from everything that happened and letting it in that sense define her.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we kind of discussed it when Avery first came up that we're like, her introduction was harsh, is probably the best way we could put it. And we're like, but we're hoping that the harshness was to kind of give room for some softness and humanity going forward. And
Mhm,
they did exactly that. I really, really like how they characterized Avery this season. Like I
mhm,
mentioned it
Yeah.
last week, that every time I thought she was gonna go stereotypical hard ass, like they just found a way to just make her
Exactly.
softer
Yeah.
and make
yeah,
her empathetic and make her emotional. And I really, really loved
Like
it.
I love that
mhm,
Yeah,
they broke that typecast, you know?
yeah,
mhm,
they did.
absolutely.
Uh, we've discussed
They
the
totally played with it too. Like in this
Yeah, in
for
that
in
sure.
first
this
yeah,
episode,
yeah,
they
of
do that.
course.
You're like, oh boy, she's gonna go on the revenge path,
Yeah, and then
Mm.
she
in
does it.
episode
Like,
9.
oh, I love
Yeah,
And then
it.
yeah,
instead in the crisis, she finds more humanity. You know what I mean? She like
And
Yeah.
mhm,
she
she saves
yeah.
Alex's
Yeah.
life. She puts
mhm,
Literally.
the gun away. We've discussed the jump forward to 2020 Blinding Lights. So
No COVID it
I
seems.
guess it is. Well, I think we've kind of gone through the episode. So if there's anything else anybody else want to touch on, we can bring it up. But I think my notes are done.
Yeah, same.
You know, you brought up the I thought it was funny the way they played with the motorbike. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
it's sort of like the little gadget, or like the toy in the beginning of the first
Yeah.
episode.
mhm,
And I was surprised at how thrilling it was when he was riding it down those little hallways, and like it feels like a scene that's unnecessary in a lot of ways, you know.
Yeah.
mhm,
But at
mhm.
the same time, like it was really effective, which was funny for
Yeah.
me
Also
because I was
reminds you
just
how
like,
they rarely waste anything in this show. Like that was such him riding the bike was such a throwaway thing in the beginning. Like we're just like, oh, so you have time to be doing all of this. Wow, being a Depo baby must
yeah,
be nice. And
Uh-huh,
bringing it back in such a titular way. Like, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
right to
yeah.
them.
I mean, those hallways are conveniently empty. I mean, I guess it was
I
a war
mean, he
going on,
almost hit
but
two
we can
people.
allow it.
That
Yeah.
have been
Um, again, it's on my list of things I would never do. It's just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
again, it's just a hard ride to be so difficult, man. It's just like
Bro,
next
I'm
thing you know,
surprised he
you're on the
didn't break his
floor.
Oh
neck,
yeah,
but
it's done.
that's he's been bobbing and weaving all season, so I guess he's kind of
Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Robert Bailey Jr., thank you very much for this. This was great.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Thank you so much for having me,
anything?
guys.
Anything you feel like
Anything
hasn't got that you
oh,
think hasn't
about
got
the
shout out that you want to?
I don't think so. I think I kinda I got on my pedestal, my soapbox box for a couple of things about some of my castmates and the story
Oh no.
yeah.
no, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that that not even about y'all. I just mean just in general. I think the things that like are important for me to speak on as somebody that's a part of the show but wasn't even really in the season that much is I think I said my piece on those things and also spoke about the things that I love about this episode and about over the course of the season. I am very curious from you guys because you mentioned that they landed the plane, but it, did this really how we finished the season with probably 9 and 10? Did this really affect or shape or alter in any way how you view the season as a whole, or is it kind of like we got into a rhythm and this is about where you were expecting, or these last couple were like, oh, okay, that changes how I was feeling about it before? I'm curious about that.
Hmm. I think in retrospect, yeah, I can see the setup now. Like I can
Mm,
appreciate the building now in retrospect. I feel like I
mhm,
definitely need to rewatch the season as a whole now that I know where it's going and see if, a couple more things click for me. But just even when I was
mhm.
watching the episode like 9 and 10, even in fact from episode 7, right? I feel like I was already like back on the train. So
Right.
just looking at that in retrospect, I feel like yes, I see the world. Like even then, I knew this was world building. I just hoped that it wasn't world building to something that I still wouldn't care about. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
really made me
Yeah.
care as we were building. So I really appreciate that because the great thing about this show is like yes, people love space shit, but like the magic of season 1, season 2, season 3 is really how much we grew with these characters and how much we cared
Mhm.
about their lives. So them being
Totally.
able to do that in a short, like in one season, like I definitely feel invested in Alex's future. I want to see how Lily turns out, I guess. Love Boyd,
Mhm.
they made me
Boyd.
care. Yeah, I had to put my girl up, child. She came in like a I was saying earlier, like Mirelle, you're saying that she's a really great actress, as she is. She came in so naturally into the season. Like we were
Yeah.
doing
Yo,
comparison between how they introduced Miles and how they introduced her, and how like she just like blended, like she just felt like one of them
yo.
immediately. So
I
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you
I think
think
yeah,
the
the
fact that we didn't
chances of
mention.
What do you think the
Go
chances
ahead.
of of them casting her real life husband for next season
Aaron
hey,
Be
Rock.
to
so
join her
incredible.
on
What?
Mars?
That
yeah,
would be so sick.
Uh,
Yeah, I think that would be a dream.
Connor Roy
Yeah.
was interested in
Yeah,
politics from
Conor
a
Roy.
very young age. He always wanted to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. That would be incredible.
um, I mean, just on Boyd, I do think the fact that we didn't mention Boyd this episode is actually a really good thing. I mentioned last
Mhm.
week how I was happy that the show was confident enough to let Boyd just be a character
Mhm.
and not like there are various versions of this show, even or different shows where Boyd will have to do something big in this finale to justify her
Yeah.
existence. They're like, no, 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 she's done her thing. There are more important things going on now. We don't need to find a way to shoehorn Boyd into a
Mhm.
storyline. She's in like maybe two
Right,
scenes this episode. So I
right.
really like that. But in terms of the overall thing, I think I kind of ended season 4 kind of a bit down at the end
Yeah.
of season 4. So I went to this season I mentioned like a bit dubious, right? It was like, oh, okay, are there things that but I think if anybody goes back and listens to my episode, at least for me, at least, I was always just going up. I was like, okay, 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 I'm buying it, I'm buying it, I'm buying it. I
Mhm.
mean, I think 3 was spectacular, right? But we're
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe that's just
Yeah.
because it's Ed's final episode. Maybe that's like a one-off. And then it kept on going,
Yeah.
and um, things just started happening. I was like, oh, this is like an excellent episode. Like, there's the
Mhm.
Mhm.
assault or whatever, like the Ruiz's death, which I think is 8. All these
Yeah.
little things. And I'm like, okay,
That
it just
silent
kept on. And I was
scream.
like, yeah, you just kept on feeling like, oh, these are just good episodes back to back. And that's kind of the best place to be in TV when you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
not overthinking it. Just like every episode you watch is just a good episode of TV and you just keep on
Yeah.
moving on.
It got
And
better. Mhm.
next thing you know, it's a good episode, it's a good season of TV. That's kind of
Exactly.
so it didn't really change. I wasn't like, oh, I'm down on this show, and then episode 10, I'm like, oh, I'm good. I think by like 4 or 5, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a good season. Let's go.
Dope.
And
Okay,
I think
cool.
just yeah.
Yeah, I think it
So
pretty consistently built up momentum.
yeah.
I feel like it's probably the right choice to save Ed's death for this season instead of having that in the last season finale.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine if Ed was in
Yeah.
this season? Can
Oh
you
my
imagine if
god.
old man Ed was in this season?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
What
I
would
so
can't
he
it
be
imagine
doing?
it's actually so funny for me every time I've seen Joel out and about, like, we'll be at events and he's with this I can't remember if, she's still his fiancé or if they're married now, I forget, but anyways, I'll see them out and about, and I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, you're, like, a relatively young man." Like, I'm so used to
Yeah.
him just walking around because I would always get there and he'd been in the chair for hours, like, getting all his
Makeup, yeah.
prosthetics on, so I was just, like, never seeing him, and then I would see him, and I'm like, "That's right, you're a pretty young dude." Like, but he's great. He's just to say, he's such a
Danielle's
joy
like that too.
to work with. Yeah, exactly. Totally,
When
Yeah.
totally.
when you
Like
see her
they're
in
so
something else,
young and just like
you're getting
exactly. She's crushing in Paradise, by the way. I love that
yeah.
show.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see them and you're just like, wow, yeah, wow. You're like, you're not old
Like,
at
I
all.
love when
So
they
we're
started the
Yeah,
season
I've been
basically
watching
showing
you
us
grow
that Ed
old.
was falling off the bone, like from when he stood
right,
up, from his little
exactly,
slippers.
exactly.
Like, I was like, "Oh, he's dying."
Oh, he's
I was like,
dying, dying.
"Finally, because how has he lived this long anyway?"
uh
But
huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, sorry, Peter, I think I cut you off earlier. Is there more you had to say about like the
Oh, I don't know.
trajectory, the
I mean,
momentum?
I think there's a that they had a real chance of peaking at 3, but I think they found a good way to take that, like to take that old story stuff that they could really cash in and then
Mhm.
move on and take us into to different places, and I think we weren't sure if they were going to pull it off, but it sort of felt better each week that they had a chance to. And I think by the end, yeah, like I think that it all came together really nicely. And I think the way that 9 and 10 sort of play together, where you're like, what's going on? Like, why don't we see these people or whatever? And then you see it from the other side. I think that's a great encapsulation of like how they really plan things out in a pretty smart way.
I think
And so,
5
sorry,
was
to add to that,
5 was the
actually,
riots. Yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
go
Go.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say 5 was the riots, 6 was
Yeah.
hostage, 7 was the dome, 8 was Ruiz. Yeah, that's just like
Yeah,
that's
that's
just a
like
great
back-to-back
run.
bangers.
Just
That's a
take
great
off.
run
What
of
actually
episodes.
killed
Yeah.
me about the M6 is that they were fighting for their lives to make it to Moxie with all the confusion. Mind you, there was nobody in Moxie left. Like, it was just Aleida and Irina. And
That's
even
true. That's true.
by the end of the episode, like, there was literally nobody left there. So, like,
Moxie was
Yeah, they were
empty,
like,
they
yeah.
literally,
I'm sure
it
we can
actually
find a
killed
big,
me
strong
with
man
hindsight. I was
to
just
get.
like, there's nobody there,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
But okay.
Okay. I think that's a good place. I'm sure if we let ourselves go, we could probably talk more
Honestly.
we just start talking about Star City that none of us has watched. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the season. I did. So I'm glad that we could have you, Robert, on to discuss this finale.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a
Um,
treat.
It is an open invitation. If you feel like you mentioned earlier about being on a soapbox, we do that regularly on this show. No one is listening,
Good. Yeah,
but
yeah.
we do have these soapboxes out. So if there's anything you want to come rant about, feel free. If
Totally.
anything you want to promote, feel free. If anything you want to talk about that you're enjoying, feel free. It's an open
Yeah.
invitation. We just like to talk about TV.
It's
Yeah,
so funny for
Pete.
me. Like learning about this new medium, because I've really gotten into this like the last few years of watching your shows and all the reviews. I was never really on YouTube, I think, before 2020 or so. So I think I've been lucky enough since then really to work exclusively on projects where like I think they just get mad love and respect, and it's like I don't have a lot to say. I think I would have been like swinging online 10 years ago or whatever, defending whatever I was doing at the time. But I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
I really like it, and I like talking about the nuances and whatnot. But I think the soapbox that I would describe was really just about the fact that like I think our young cast coming in had a really difficult job, and I think they did a good job with it overall. And the story as it is kind of bring you into a thing that maybe people that are invested in watching people grow up over the course of decades don't want to suddenly revert back to watching teenagers do whatever, especially because we're mainly introduced to people in their 20s, like already doing stuff. And now we're suddenly with like really, really young people doing stuff that doesn't seem really important. But I think it's important to set that stage so that we have a place to go as people literally die off. So I think I'm just, I'm really a big fan of all of them and feel protective over them. And I don't think we have a real toxic fan base at all where it would be like a thing. I
No.
just want my opportunity to say, hey, this is also a thing. And I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete, thank you very much. Angel, thank you, as always. Everyone, please check Pete's channel. Please follow Robert Bailey Jr. on all his shows that apparently are just tailor-made for podcasts and YouTube channels. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. It's been a great
I don't know,
season.
Apple,
We apologize to everyone who we pissed off last week on our thoughts on the Titan mission.
I love science, guys.
We love science. But yeah, thanks to everyone. Thanks to all the listeners. Thanks to Robert Bailey Jr. Thanks to Pete. Thanks to Angel. And join us next week when we'll be joined by Oscar winner Daniel Kaluuya. Bye, guys.
Like on the
Yeah.
billionaire scale, I'd say Dev is not to compare, but it's closer to Beyonce billionaire than the Elon Musk
Okay.
billionaire.
Like
You know what I
actually
mean?
like about that life, it can do some things, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. Like literally
yeah,
get
yeah.
the shit done. You can trust in that. I'm definitely
Exactly.
gonna make some of the wrong decisions along the way. Okay,
I
but
would-
you
I didn't
would
know
like
where we were
to-
going with that, but I like that. I like that. Is Pete can you guys see Pete? Is he frozen? Oh, there you are.
He's
Okay.
there.
okay. He
He's
just
there. He was just-
settled.
He's just in
I
shock
think
from the conversation.
ever since Angel dropped her range of Beyonce to Elon Musk,
Beyonce,
Pete's
yeah, he
brain
was just
froze.
processing.
Pete's brain froze. He was
Incredible.
just like, okay, I want to hear about this.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
incredible.
I was just listening.